Hey, Professor Clark here. I have an image here of a perfect bound book that I'd like to isolate from its background, and I'm going to walk through a couple of techniques for separating this piece from its background. So one of the easiest ways to isolate an object is to use the magic wand tool. So I have my point sample. We can set it to a 5x5 average. My background is pretty consistent, so it's not going to matter much. Tolerance is set at 15. So if I click on the background, I'm selecting almost the entire background right away. I do have some areas here where the gray pages are against a gray background and it's a little hard to separate. So I'm going to handle that separately, but I may as well go ahead and take advantage of this nice clean break between the cover of the book and its background. So I've made a selection, and what I need to do with that selection is make it a layer mask. So I can't add a layer mask to a background layer. I have to double click on that, change it to layer 0, and now I can go to layer mask, reveal all, and I'm going to go ahead and fill that selection with black to mask it out. Now, in order to check and improve possibly this selection, although it actually looks pretty good, there's a really cool tool under the Select menu called Select and Mask. And this gives you the ability to preview the selection and see exactly what you've got. In this case, it's kind of rare, but this is almost perfect. So I'm going to leave this alone. Just say OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill my background with black. Now, in order to see the pages that I've omitted, I'm going to disable the layer mask. I'm going to zoom in on this area that I need to work with, and I'm going to deselect the existing selection. So these pages are almost exactly the same color as the background, which is why it's difficult to select using the magic wand tool. So I can try the lasso tool. There's something called magnetic lasso tool, which allows me to sort of drag along an edge, and it will automatically find, it will automatically find that edge. Let's not use that. Let's try again. So it's cutting out my cover, which might be a little bit of a problem. And I'm not so sure. It's also having a hard time distinguishing, in this case, between the background and the edge. So probably what I want to do for this, probably what's going to be the most efficient, especially since I have so many straight edges here, is to use the pen tool. And I'll make a selection and I'll add that to my layer mask. So I'm going to start here at this corner, and I'm going to click and drag. It looks like a straight line, but it's actually a little bit of a curve. So I need to drag a handle. Having that handle on one end, it's probably not going to be enough. I don't need this handle. It's going to make a sharp turn, so I'm going to hold down the Option key, which changes my cursor to a conversion tool. So I'm converting that point from a curve to a point, straight point. And then I'm in my background area here, which I don't really want to be. I'm going to zoom in even a little closer and see what I need to do to get right up against that edge. I'm going to add a point. And drag that in a little bit. I want to cut into my image a little bit if possible. I really don't want any of the background to show. It will end up making the object edge a little messy. So I want to cut right in, add another point here and pull that in until I'm satisfied that I'm really just getting the object and not any of the background. Okay, a little adjustment here, and then a couple of straight edges here. Let's see, I'm going to end up blowing this up so big that I think I do want to grab that little light edge of the paper and make 2 points at each of these corners instead of 1. If I'm using this book very small, probably not necessary to be quite that precise. I could probably get away with 1 point at these corners. So here I'm going to generalize for now. I may touch that up later, but I'm going to generalize there and grab all 3 of those pages as 1. Same thing here, these 5 or so pages I'm going to grab as 1. Another group of pages. And I'm kind of making up where this edge goes. I know that the pages have a right angle, so I can pretty much guess what that vertical line should be. Actually, I think I guessed a little wrong. Let me adjust that. That should be almost vertical. And here I'm going to grab the white edge again. It's hard to put a point really close next to another point accurately. So I'm going to go back later and zoom in on those and adjust those. But for now, I just want to complete my path. Okay, and again, I've already got that white book. I'm not sure if I have this little edge, so let me turn that layer mask on for a second. No, I don't. So I need to grab that too. Disable the layer mask again so I can see it. I need to grab this edge as well. And then since I'm adding to this white area, I don't need to be precise along this edge. In fact, I don't want to. I want to go inside this white area. Whoops. I'm going to go inside this white area that I already have selected. Now I'm going to go back and really zoom in on these pages and make these points as accurate as I possibly can. So here, this angle doesn't make a lot of sense. Back to my pen tool. Oops. Be careful not to grab the whole thing. So at this point, it's really only meant to grab the thickness of the one page. It's pretty tiny. And the only reason I'm being so picky is I'm blowing this image up really large for a trade show display. So I'm going to go up to these edges, which should be pretty quick and easy to fix. I guess that's okay. Now here, I want to add some detail. I'm going to add a couple of points. All you need to do to add a point to an existing curve is just mouse over, just put the cursor over the line and it knows that I want to add a point. So I can start adding points in. It's really, there's no curves here, so I'm going to get rid of all those handles by using the Convert Point tool, but I can get that tool by holding the Option key as I mouse over the path. Don't want that to be a curve, I want that to be a point. It should be more like this. Again, it gets a little mushy here with the colors being so close together, so I'm kind of guessing in certain areas, using my drawing skills to make decisions about what that path should look like. In any case, I know these should all be straight lines. Oops, did not want that to be a curve. Held the wrong key down for a second there. Just going to add tiny bit more detail here. That doesn't look right. I think I'm got too much information here and I don't know what that really should look like. So I'm just going to delete some of these points. Generalize here. So I've got that edge of the paper and then I've got one angle going in. Okay, so I do see one adjustment here I want to make. Whoops. Again, I want to, the idea is to grab as much of the object as you can without including the background at all. So I'm using my drawing knowledge to judge the accuracy of the curve since there's not a lot of visual cues here. I know that these vertical, almost vertical lines should pretty much be parallel, should all be pretty much parallel to each other. And same with these almost horizontal lines, they should look pretty much parallel to each other. A little too much of the background showing here, so I'm going to move this up a little. Okay, and I can always go back and adjust my mask. So I'm not going to spend too much more time here. I'm going to zoom out and use this path to add to the selection. So I'm going to, I went from work path to make selection to bring up this box. Don't want to feather it at all. I do want to anti-alias it because I want to have a smooth edge where Photoshop interpolates the difference between pixels and makes a smooth transition instead of hard-edged pixels. So I'm going to, I want to make a selection. It's a new selection because I don't have anything selected right now, so it's okay. Then I'm simply going to fill my mask with white there. So have my mask selected. I need to invert because it automatically selected the background. So now I'm going to fill that area, edit, fill, with white. So I'm taking a little black away from that layer mask. I'm going to deselect and now I have my silhouetted book. So I don't need all this background area now that I've masked out the background. I'm just going to crop it. So here I've used a combination of the magic wand and the pen tool to create a path. And between those two techniques, I've pretty quickly silhouetted this object. I'm going to save it. And I want to save this as a PSD for two reasons. One, it's a native Photoshop format, so if I double click the file, it's automatically going to open in Photoshop. And also, I need to support that transparency because I want a background to show, different background to show around that book. So I'm going to save this as cropped, differentiated from the other one, and that's it.